This next talk is about revolutionizing the fashion industry, creativity as a competitive edge. And who best to represent a talk like this than the following participants? First, we have someone who, if there's anybody that represents the export of artistic expression around the world, it's Agatha Ruiz de la Prada. And who better to have a conversation with her than Kike Sarasola, the CEO of Roommate Hotels. Now, a lot of you probably have never heard of Roommate Hotels, but Roommate Hotels is quite unique. Actually, every hotel is based on a fictional character friend of Kike and has its own personality. Kike Sarasola is probably one of the most responsible people for creating affordable luxury. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome me in welcoming Kike and Agatha.
Well, thank you everybody for this incredible moment that we have Agatha here. I don't know if you guys know, but Agatha and I were in school together. And Agatha has always been one of my references and role models and idol. When we had to wear uniforms in school, she always managed to put a flower. She always managed to wear a hat. She always managed that boring uniform that we had, she always made it fun. She has been doing this, I would say, all her life. So now we're going to ask her, but she is everywhere. She's in clothes, in paints, in children's clothing, in everything that you can imagine. She's become a creator. And I have to tell her that I have always, it's a pity I'm gay, I have always been in love with her. Agatha, tell us, did you always think you were going to be in fashion?
Bueno, when I was a little children, I wanted to be a painter. I don't know if you remember, my father was a big art collector in the 60s. My father was, I remember I was a big fan of your father, and your father was a big fan of me. And my father was a collector, and a very good architect. And I wanted to become a painter. But after that, I decided when I was a teenager that I was going to be much more happy doing dresses, because if you feel that you are well dressed, you feel always happy. I think being well dressed is one of the biggest happy you can feel. Now that I am bigger, also having a good meal is important. But when you are a teenager, you don't bother about meals, about food, about anything. You only want to be pretty. And if you feel that you are well dressed, the rest of the world can think anything you don't mind, no? So from the beginning, I wanted to do the mixing between the world of art and the world of fashion.
It is true that everybody that wears one of your dresses always has a smile, because you're proud. I mean, I asked her if she lent me one of her dresses today. She said no, she lent me a jacket. And
we have been friends since the beginning of the 80s.
Yes.
Kike and me, I didn't know why. Well, because of the friend of Belén Herbosch, who was in the American Embassy as a public relations, and she used to invite us every week in the good times of La Movida Madrileña.
Yes, because Agatha has been part of La Movida Madrileña. She's been part of the millennials right now. Her clothes have been chosen by Miley Cyrus and right now by Lindsay Lohan. Everybody wants to wear her clothes. And her clothes, like you say, are fun. When did you decide to go from creating clothes into all the new facets of life and creation that you're doing right now?
I think that has a lot to do with my father being an architect. And I'm a big fan of Bauhaus. And in the time of Bauhaus, all of the best architects in the world wanted to do everything, from carpets to chairs, to tables, to everything, no? So I remember also being a friend of Mariscal, Javier Mariscal, and once I went to one exhibition of Javier Mariscal. The name was wonderful. He was like 45 years old, and the name of the exhibition was 100 Years of Javier Mariscal, which was, and I was there with all of his brothers, and they were like 6 brothers showing me around, and I decided I want to do that. I want to do that because he was selling from pins. Do you remember
The pins.
when the pins were so much in fashion? A pin now can cost €1 to pictures who can cost like 50,000 euros, no?
Yeah.
So he was doing anything. He was doing comics, he was doing textiles, he was doing fashion with his brothers, and so I decided I want to do that. I want to do that, and also one of my references is Philip Stark, and my daughter says that I am ¿cómo se llama la gente que tiene hyperactivity?
Hyperactive. They tell me. They tell me as well.
It's not true, but if I do the same thing a long time, I get bored. So I need to do thousands of projects at the same time.
Tell me something, Agatha, because I think here we have a very young crowd and people who really admire you. What did they tell you at the beginning when you came with your ideas? Did they say you were crazy? Did they say, tell us?
But the most they say that, the most excited you get, and the most convinced you are doing something different, and you are all right. I always say I am perhaps the best person ever for me is Picasso. And I always think if Picasso has been hearing what the friends of his mother would say of his painter, that will be a disaster. So I am so convinced that when you have an idea, the only judge is yourself.
And you should go for it, no? Because
and you should go for it, and the most you go, the most convinced you are that it's okay, no? And the wonderful thing about my style is a style somebody hates them, but everybody recognizes it. And at the end, people like things they recognize. They love to recognize. If they go to a museum, they say, that's from Goya, that's from Picasso, that's from Klein. And when they recognize, they're happy. So they recognize a Vuitton or they recognize a Christian Dior thing. So if they recognize you, that's very important. And
So
I am very happy that I have even a lot of people who at the beginning said, that's not fashion, that's nothing. But at the end, when they see that you are coherent, that you do always the same and you have the same style and the same message.
and that you're different. And to be different is important, no? To do something out of the box that I'm always saying.
This week, I have been this weekend in Paris. It was a very interesting weekend. I went there on Friday and I come back yesterday morning. And in that one weekend, I have been in 5 exhibitions. One of the first day I arrived for the inauguration of the Yves Saint Laurent Museum, which is they inaugurate in Paris, and they're going to inaugurate in Marrakech in 10 days. The second day I went to Sotheby's, the offices of Sotheby's, because they were doing yesterday ¿cómo se llama?
Una exposición, exhibition.
Auction. Subasta, an auction about dresses. It's the second time they do that, of Balenciaga, Christian Dior. And the exhibition was so amazing. And I know very well the one who is doing the auction. And normally he buys for 30 euros and he sells for 25,000 euros, for example, because he has the eye, and the exhibition was wonderful. Then the day after, I went to the Tuileries, and there was an exhibition about Christian Dior. The queues were kilometers of queues. You cannot imagine how. I have bought the tickets by internet, and I asked, I have my ticket, then you are only going to take 2 hours to enter. Una cosa increíble. So that afternoon, I went to another foundation, and there was the presentation of a book, La Fundación Pierre Cardin, which was, he's 96 now. So I went to the exhibition, and the day after, on Monday, I went to the museum, Museo Galliera, and I went to the exhibition of Fortuny. So now there is in the world of fashion, something is happening about people want a history about the brands. People are crazy about museum of fashions, about getting the history. And so I have decided a wonderful thing. I have a foundation, and this weekend I have a foundation, but it's a secret foundation.
Okay, so don't tell us.
No, it's a secret foundation because it's a it's a foundation that you can only go by appointment.
Okay.
And normally I show that only to my friends.
Okay.
You are invited to
Thank
live
you.
there if you want.
Thank you.
So I have decided this weekend that I'm going to try to open the place where you can visit the foundation in Paris.
Very good. And it's a foundation with all your clothes and all your creations.
I don't have as much space in Paris as I would like to have, but we will change the dresses every three times every year or 4 times every year. So
I think something that Agatha does very well is her communication. No, I think in every industry, whatever does is not communicated doesn't exist. And she's an artist, no? So she promotes herself and she makes herself seen to the public, which I think is very important in any type of business. But Agatha, tell me something. How do you reinvent yourself? Things come along, or you have a
this
team?
thing about the foundation being open in Paris, I think it's a big point for reinventing myself, no? Because I think this has been a year of a lot of energy for me, because I realized 10 months ago that I was doing many things, but I have to do 10 times more things. So I say, and I, in a special way, it's a little impressive at the beginning. You say, can I do more things of what I am doing? And yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
And you can enjoy doing much more things than
because you enjoy what you do.
I enjoy everything.
Good.
That is something I inherited from my grandmother in Barcelona, and I try to enjoy doing everything.
Yes, and one thing I admire about Agatha is something that we always speak about in technology as well, which is team building, no? Delegating, having good people around her. Agatha, I have to say, her team, since I know her, and it's many years ago, her team is Agatha. They live the brand. They love the brand. How do you manage to get such engagement? Now your son and daughter are with you again and they're engaging in the brand. How do you do that engagement in the team, which is so important?
I always say it's not you who choose your team, it's your team who chooses you. Because for people, everybody says it must be very funny to work in Agatha Ruiz Prada studio. I think it's one of the funniest places in the world. But some people, after 3 months or 6 months, can get a little bored of doing hearts and stars and color every time. But some people get in love forever with that.
Yes, and your team, you can show, I can vouch for her team, really is Agatha.
And it's so funny because every day we have a different project. You know, we have done from tumbas.
Tumbas. Tombs.
From tombs to security doors, to operas.
When Hotel Agatha.
To everything. And we are planning to do that is one of our projects.
We have it
Agatha Roommate Hotel.
Roommate Agatha has to be in the future. Yes. One more question I wanted to ask you, because we're always here and talking about money. You haven't let anybody come into your company, or have you let big funds come into your company?
No. By the moment it's a
family
private company.
For any special reason? Because I do know people have come to talk to you, but you've said no because you wanted to keep your independence. Why?
Because I was afraid they were going to put me in the door. And I said, what I'm going to do without a job? Because I think having a job is the best of the things in the world, no?
I agree.
So I come from a family who had spent generations with not working, and it's horrible because I don't like to play golf. And well, I play a little bit of golf, but my mother always said you are a disaster with sports. So what I am going to do all the day playing golf and tennis if I'm not good at that.
Agatha, tell me and tell the public big moments in your career that you remember right now.
I can remember big moments, 100 big moments in the last months. But in New York, in Paris, in Milan, but big moments of emotion, and so I'm very lucky. And also, one of the things I have is a very bad memory, which is also something, a family matter, and I forget 1 month ago, I don't remember anything.
Tell me, this is a difficult question. Easy one first. Who would you like to dress?
When I prefer to dress, one of the things I prefer about my profession today is democratization of fashion. So everybody can dress well. So a long time ago, only the very rich people had access to being well dressed. But today, everybody, or nearly everybody, can have access to fashion, no? And that is something that I love about my time.
Because you have, I think it's 6 shops
I
open.
remember once I was in Colombia, and one who was running for being the mayor of Medellin told me, Agatha, come to help me, come with me, we are going to one of the most poor neighborhoods in Colombia. And we were walking in that neighborhood because we were going to see some textiles places, and the people were dressed in Agatha Ruiz de la Prada. And people, Agatha, the queen, and little babies of 4 years old dressed in Agatha. And I was so happy. I prefer that to that dressing kings and queens and tal. Dressing everybody everywhere, no?
Yeah. Who would you not dress? Apart from Trump.
Sí, apart from that. Well, I think these kind of relations are very much, if you don't like someone, that someone don't like you.
Doesn't like you.
And it's something very easy to avoid. But normally, if someone dresses you, you say, no, he's not as bad as I used to.
Agatha, you have 6 shops right now, and you sell in 100 and over more.
I am in a moment where now we are in a revolution, and shops are beginning to be not in. I'm beginning to close my shops, and perhaps I'm going to close my shop and open foundations.
An open foundation.
Because I think that for the people, you can show them your history the best that you can, and then they can buy online. Perhaps that can be
the future.
A road, yes.
The future, but you should do a museum in Madrid. We have to talk about that. You are Spanish.
Yes,
you are from Madrid.
I already have the nucleus of the future museum, but it's not wonderful to open the first time in Paris for
yes. Yes, I agree. Paris is Paris. When you started this, your fantastic career and company, did you always think of going international, or was it really a dream? When did you start thinking about going international? Because many people who have startups, they think about only Spain, especially.
No, it's that you have to be international. Everything has to be international today, and with internet, it's so easy to become international because you are doing a fashion show, and in the same time, you can see that from all over the planet. So being international is not anymore
a theme. It's
you
a way
have
of
to
being.
be.
You have to be.
At the beginning, I used to sell to my family, to my neighbors, to my friends of the school, friends. But now it's impossible not being international.
Now that you're talking so much about foundations, you've helped so many organizations and foundations. You have done so many. Anyone that you will remember that we can all relate to?
For me, everything, the best is always related with ecology. Ecology is my dream, no? My obsession, my dream. But I think once you are in that, you have to help everybody.
Okay.
The more you help, the better. but ecology is my favorite thing.
And how do you do that? Do you
And the nice thing about the startups is that I think 90% of the startups are good for the ecology.
Yes, I
And
agree.
that's a point that I don't know if we are saying that as loud as we do, but next year we have to say that the South Summit, the Green South Summit, no?
The Green South Summit, that would be fantastic. And how do you see an industry in fashion world? Where should it all go to? So fabrics that are reciclados, recycled. How do you think that
Everybody's
should go?
working on that. We are in the very beginning. This morning there was Javier, tan guapísimo Javier.
Goyeneche.
Javier.
EcoAlf, everybody, the best
But
clothes.
he didn't explain his project because he arrived late to our conference. But he's an example of what fashion has to do.
Yeah, Javier, just for all of you, is EcoAlf, and all his clothes are done from fishermen's nets and plastic bottles. And it is a fantastic brand because it unites ecology, everything that's green with fashion and very beautiful
And
things.
I think that's the way you have to
That's
go.
the way we should start going. Agatha, listen, I think we're about running out of time. It has been such a pleasure to hear you, and I think you're an inspiration for all of us of things being done well and differently, and you look gorgeous.